Hello folks and welcome. So I have a video for you on Solus Budgie desktop, talking about automated backups using USB devices, USB stick, USB hard drives. I've done several videos like this out of the last 2 weeks, and you know, a lot of these distributions are slightly different, so this is no exception here. I'll talk about all the tools required to do this, and you'll have to install one program or application. Other than that, I'll point to it and basically show you all the processes, including creating scripts in this video. And I'm going to make this where it's basically no technical jargon. So that's why my videos are going to be more than 2 minutes, but I have timelines and chapters on all of them. Also, I do encourage that you subscribe and read my About section. One of the comments that I make is Linux is for any age. And check out my community tab for some tips on keyword searches, since my video library is currently up to about 100 videos. This is Solus and Budgie Desktop. My user for today is a made-up user named Mr. Bob. So Mr. Bob has a couple of USB devices that is formatted with FAT32. You can format these by clicking that and then format that with several different options. The reason I'm using FAT or FAT32, file allocation 32, because I want that to be compatible with Microsoft Windows and Macs, and I don't want to deal with permissions. If you use extension 4, be prepared to deal with permissions. Also, when you name your formatted devices, I don't recommend spaces. As a matter of fact, probably a good idea to use just uppercase letters and no spaces. So that's how these are formatted. That's a USB 2 stick. It's 16 gigabytes roughly, and that's a 240 gigabyte portable hard drive that's plugged into a USB cable. As a matter of fact, I can right click on that and give you information. That's a 240, and that one should say 15 something. USB 2, USB 3. So I'm going to use these for my guinea pig today. So what I'm going to do is open up a second tab, or second window I should say, and I'm going to grab a hold of that and drag it to the side, and I'm going to leave this one with the USB backup, and then I'm going to go over to my stars folder. Now I'll talk about these in a second and all the magic that is done and the piece of software that you need to install if you want to do the same thing. So right now I am going to run a music backup. So my music folder, I'm going to get rid of Hello World. So it's just 4 folders. And then I'm going to run this by right-clicking and run as a program. And right now it opened up a terminal box which is black right now, and it's replicating music. And all the subfolders go with it. Okay, so that's USB backup. And now it closed automatically. Alright, so this will be the document backup or the custom icon. I just threw that in there as an attention getter. Same deal on that. Run as a program. And now it's doing documents. But if you noticed, it kind of flashed for a second to let you see the file names. But it was too quick. But nonetheless, it replicated everything in this document folder. The good thing about running what I'm doing here is I don't need to go in here and do a copy and paste and then have to worry about this thing complaining that it has a duplicate folder and then trying to figure out what the differences are. So this utility is called Rsync that I'm going to be using here today. Let me explain to you what Rsync does in full details and the whole scripting process in full details. First of all, we need to install this. So it's called Rsync. Just put in Rsync and enter, and it should be able to find it. In some distributions, this automatically comes installed. Rsync is used pretty heavily in a lot of different places. If you have ever heard of Time Shift, that's a backup utility. It uses Rsync also. Anyways, the file size is pretty small. You just install it and then you're done. Then you can start writing scripts to do stuff what I'm doing here. So this is a made up folder. I just typed in script stuff and basically, and the icons came from this folder here. I brought this folder in from another system. See, I've been doing this kind of stuff for many, many years. I've also done videos on custom panel bars and menus and stuff using these play icons. I downloaded some of these off the internet. I made some of these off the internet. I made some of them I've downloaded some of them and edited some of them. They're just play icons. That's all these are. But I'm using them to assign these to my scripts. Otherwise, you get a generic looking thing, and I'll show you how to create one from scratch. So we're going to look at the music one right here for a second. I'm going to actually double click on it, and it opens this up in a text editor. This text editor that's already installed on your system is called gedit. It's just a general purpose text editor. I don't recommend writing any scripts using word processors. This is 2 lines. I do recommend that you watch this on a largest screen possible for you though. You can even watch this on your big screen TVs if you got a smart TV with a YouTube app. Just take a look at the name of my channel. So it starts with a pound exclamation point /bin/bash. That stands for born again shell. That's the first line. If you can muster that one, you're good to go. So again, I'm highlighting that. You can always hit stop on my video and look at the chapter timeline. Better yet, subscribe. So pound exclamation point /bin bash. That's the first statement. You have Rsync installed. Now let me explain what this line does. So Rsync is a remote sync. And I also do encourage that you look that up on the internet yourself, what Rsync is. So I put in Rsync space -A. The -A is an option. The -A is archive. It's a backup. There's also another script in here that will have AV on it. I'll show you what that means in a minute. Then I put a space after the A, and I put a funny looking line here called a tilde. It looks like a squiggly worm. So if you've never seen that symbol before, it's normally found right next to your number 1 key on your upper row on your keyboard. If you press the shift key and press that key, you'll get that squiggly looking line or tilde. I put a tilde /music. You can probably guess what that tilde does. Yes, it's the home folder for this user, Bob. So that is the symbol for home folder. So that would be source that I got highlighted currently. Tilde /music. That matches the name of that folder. Whenever you are typing Rsync statements, check your spelling and spacing. So it's tilde /music. Music is spelled with an uppercase M. The other thing too is a lot of people make this mistake. They don't put a space after the folder name, and they just put in the name of the device. Well, this script doesn't discern between what is a subfolder in this case. I need 1 space in there. Use your space bar once, not twice, once. So back that up completely with a / until it hits the last letter of your folder name and hit space once. Where did I get this run medium Mr. Bob stuff? I'm going to point to this thing for a second. Do you see that little black box that popped up? It says run medium Mr. Bob USB backup on it. Well, if you don't, then I'm going to right click on this thing and hit properties. So now you can see it a little bit better. You just type that in just like the way it's displayed here. On some of my other videos, you'll see that I only use this part for different distributions, like an XFCE distribution, for instance. If your device, your computer system says run /run on it, then put that information in there also. In other words, just match up with whatever this thing says over here. This is your destination. This is your source. This is the stuff you're copying to. You're copying this to this. So just make sure that the spelling matches. The /run /media /Mr. Bob is all in lower cases. However, the device name, the USB drive in this case, says USB backup all in capital letters. And there's no spaces in here. All right, I'm done. So I'm going to hit close without saving. Now I'm going to open up this one. So this one has more lines. It still begins with a bin bash statement. That one has the an AV on it. In either case, whether I remove the V's out of all of these, it doesn't really matter. But the music, documents, pictures, and Mr. Bob's work, the way it's spelled. Mr. Bob's work folder is this one. That should match exactly to a T. If you put in MR lowercase and then Bob work in uppercase mixed, it will still fail. It needs to be spelled exactly the way your folder is spelled. So far, so good? All right, so I'm going to close this and perform that. And this is going to what device? Let's double check the path. It's going to USB backup, this device here. It already has 2 folders. So what's that? What is this script going to do? I'm going to tell you what it's going to do. It's going to take a look at that document folder on your system and compare it to the USB device. And if it finds no changes, it'll skip it. It'll compare your music folder also to what you currently have here. If it finds that that matches, it'll skip it. If I add one file or folder inside of my music folder or documents, it'll sync that up also. But in this case, it's missing pictures and it's missing the Mr. Bob's work folder. So let me perform this by right-clicking and running as a program. Right now you can actually see it displaying the file names because I have, now it's done. Actually, what it was doing was copying the files. You should always let these boxes finish. But it was copying all the file names on there. So it's how many folders? Let's look at the script. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 folders, 1, 2, 3, 4 folders. But remember, I already had 2 of them there. And all Rsync is doing is verifying there was no changes. That's what makes this a powerful tool. The V just means it's going to display it. If I turn off the V's, if I do it like this, I'll walk over here and eliminate that, it won't display the file names. I'm going to do that for you by showing you the example. So by doing this, I'm going to save the script and close and eliminate these altogether. I'll try to eliminate them altogether. Trying to drag a box around these. There we go. Sometimes it's got that imaginary area around there. Anyways, let me rerun the script. And what you're going to see here is a black terminal box. That's all you're going to see. So I'm going to move it out of the way just to let you see there's no file names, but it's still creating these nonetheless. Since I wiped the USB drive out, it's going to have to recreate all those folders all over again. So I'm going to let this thing completely finish, and it's done. Now I'm going to walk over to here and add a folder. I'll do it to documents, and then in music, I'll create another subfolder. I'll just call this one test 999. So I got 2 items that I actually added, and what it's going to do is replicate those 2 only. So right now I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to walk over to where my scripts is, and I'm going to rerun that. And right now it popped open and closed. That's because it's finished. All it did was replicate that one folder and the Hello World folder. Everything else was the same. That's why that script ran that quickly. That's what makes this a powerful tool, because all it's doing is checking your folders in microseconds and saying, okay, we have a match. I'm not going to sync anything. We've got one thing missing. I'm going to sync that one. Now I'm going to show you the versatility of these scripts. All right, first of all, they're just scripts. I used one script and created all of the rest of these, believe it or not. So I'm going to use this USB one, and it currently is empty. I'm going to take that. Which one do I want to use? I'll use this goofy looking one here. So I'm going to right click on it and copy it. And I'm going to hit paste. And it just makes a copy of it without the icon. It says backup copy of that. You can see that right there. This is the generic icon, by the way. So I'm going to open this up by double clicking on it. This is going to open it up in your text editor, whatever you have installed. Mine is the default of gedit. So right now, all I'm going to do is, this one happens to be not only doc backup, but it does 2 folders, document and music. And it has the V turned on, so I'm going to turn that off and turn that one off. And then I'm going to change the tail end of this thing where it says USB backup to USB 1. because that's the name of the device I'm sending this to. The name of that device is right here. Black box just popped up. It's still run media Mr. Bob USB 1, no matter how I slice this. I can also add another line if I want to, because I'm in edit mode right now. I'm just going to leave the 2 and hit save. Now it's still called that, so I'm going to give it a better name than that. So I'm going to put in, what was that, dock and music? Back USB 1. Now that tells me right off the bat by looking at the file name that it's going to back up music and documents over to USB 1. At least I know what that script does. But I'm not done yet. What I'm going to do is right click on this thing and I'm going to hit properties. And I'm going to click on that icon and change the icon to something custom. So I'm going to go over to my custom icon folder and go find something. And it could be anything, actually. I don't even know what that is. I think it's a cow. Or it's a splatter. Okay. In either case, it's just an icon. Always verify that this is executable as a program. In other words, when you create new scripts, this will be just like this. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to add this star on here, and then close. And what that's going to do is it should stick it in here. So right now this script is a custom script written for that USB drive. Right click, run as a program, and it's going to copy 2 folders. And we're doing it kind of blank so you can't see them. This will close in a second. And it copied the documents and music. And when it finishes, it'll close that terminal box. In some distributions, this box does not pop open. But in Solus Budgie, this box does pop open, and it's still doing its job right now. It's still copying, and it'll auto close when it finishes. There it is. It's finished. So it has all the subfolders. The music one took the longest because it has subfolders also. And lots of music. Yeah, some of these files could be large. What the cool thing is once I walk over to here and I add one folder to the music album or a music folder, it's not going to re-replicate the world. It's only going to do one folder. So I'm going to call this one test. I don't remember what I called the last one. So I'll just put in 8s. So I have an extra folder here called test 88888. And USB 1 doesn't have that folder just yet. However, when I go over to this and rerun this script right here, this will replicate only one folder, and it'll be very quick. You probably didn't even see the terminal box pop up, but it did pop up and then shut down immediately because it just needed to replicate one folder in this case. So now that matches over here. That's what makes these scripts very powerful. So let's go take a look at this again. So if you're wanting to customize your icons, you right click on these things, you click the icon, you need to find an icon for it. As in my case, I'm using my custom icons. So you can download icons off the internet yourself and make yourself a folder if you like. Just let's talk about this next feature here. So what I'm going to do is, it doesn't matter which device I use. We'll just use the USB stick, and we're going to make a copy of, how about if we do Mr. What's his name there? Mr. Bob work. We're going to replicate that to USB 1, but I'm going to create it completely from scratch. So start with your Budgie menu and type in text. So you're looking for your text editor, gedit, and we're going to type the script completely from scratch. So it's pound, exclamation point, /bin, /bash. Double check that before you hit enter. That looks like it works. Rsync, space, -a for archive, space, tilde, /, and then we're going to cheat and let's go take a look at what's his name's folder there. Let's see what it's called. Mr. Bob's work folder. Let's see how it's spelled. Big M, small r, and Bob, big B, and the rest of the characters are uppercase and lowercase, right? So that all matches Bob, Mr. Bob's work. Are we good to go? Now I'm going to show you a little trick that you can do to cheat. You can right click on the device you're going to send it to, hit properties, click to the right or left of this thing, it doesn't matter, however you get a hold of it, right? And drag your mouse across to highlight it and then copy it. Close this down, click in here and hit paste. Okay, so you click behind the K part and hit space once. Now that becomes Run Media Mr. Bob, and the only thing you need to add is the name under the last /. USB 1, what happens when I do it this way? Is that going to work? No, it'll fail, because that USB 1 device is spelled with an uppercase letter. Uppercase letters. That would be correct. Save. Where do you want to save it to? I want to save mine to Documents, Script Stuff, and we're going to call that Bob W Backup, or Backup USB 1. That way at least I know that says Bob Work Backup USB 1. Save. You're still not quite done yet. You close that. Go find your script. You need to do one more thing to it. So here's Bob W Backup. I could assign it an icon, but more importantly, right click on it anyways and hit properties and make sure you turn this on. Now you can run it as a script. What happens if you don't do that is when you right click on the script, it will not have a run statement unlike these do. Okay. Now it's executable or runnable. So we are going to here and we're going to be doing Mr. Bob's backup. I could also right click and star it also if I want to. That puts it in this category. I'm not going to bother with that though. You already seen me do that. Right now it's syncing up Bob's work and it's finished. And there it is. And all of his subfolders to go with it. So this can be a very fast tool. Again, if you add a file, all you do is rerun the script and it just looks for changes. Instead of you doing this manually where you're going right click, copy, paste into the device, and then having to deal with all the questions that the system is asking you about duplicate files and all that. That's what makes this very fast. So one more time on the scripts is you can change the icons. You can leave the icons alone. That's up to you. You can run the script directly from here. You can start the script by hitting star and it moves it into this category right here. Then you can put all kinds of fancy icons and everything else to it. So you can see the versatility of the scripts. Again, you have choices when it comes to format. When you do this, again, this tool is the disk, GNOME disk utility. Okay, and when you're formatting these things, you can just right click on them. And your choices are what? Well, your choices are NTFS, FAT, extension 4, or other. Again, my choice is FAT in this case because I want to be able to share these files on a Microsoft and Mac system. I also don't need to deal with permissions if I use FAT because File Allocation Table 32 or FAT does not have any permission issues. It doesn't require permissions. Extension 4 does though. Normally when you format your USB device with extension 4, the user is assigned root and you'll have to deal with that. Okay, so that's my primary hard drive. That's my other drive that I've been playing with, the USB backup. You can see the name of it right in here and you can tell that's also formatted with FAT32. And that's my 16 gig generic disk drive or thumb drive. This tool treats everything like a disk if it's a storage device. And you can see what it's formatted with. File Allocation 32, FAT32. Again, this is up to you how you want to format your things. You can customize your scripts. If you bring in another USB device and call it USB 2, you can currently take these scripts and rename them. Okay, so basically, if you're working with scripts like this one here, and you want to take and copy this one, for instance, paste, and you have a third device here. So that's now a copy. You open this up in edit mode. You change that to USB 2 and you're done. If that was the device name. So the third USB device was called USB device 2. You're pretty much done other than to rename your script. Okay, I'm going to close without saving and get rid of that. And if you don't have to customize the icon, this is all up to you. This is just fluff. All right, hopefully that was helpful to you to understand the process. So the only thing, again, you need to have installed is Rsync, and you get it through the Solus Software Center, and you install Rsync. And then you can customize your first script. If you just back this video up to my very first box where I showed the bin bash statement. Once you get that done and you understand the Rsync statements and the importance of spacing, you're good to go. So one more time, I'll bring this up on the screen. It's just a name of a folder that you create, and you can create one script and start replicating all the other ones. All you're doing is making copies and changing information and putting possibly icons. And then again, if you want to use the V, that's the one that displays information when your terminal box populates when you're copying files. If you don't want to do it that way, then use a script like this one, where it has the -A. Just don't forget the spacing. It's rsync space -a space tilde / the name of your folder, in other words, source, / run media, your username, and whatever the device name is. That's the most important thing. If you forget about the spacing, all you got to do is hit the delete key once. When it butts right up against the name of the folder, hit the spacebar once and you're done. And then save the file. Don't forget the bin bash has to be spelled exactly the same as that right there. So on that note, folks, I will say, hopefully that was helpful to you. Thank you for watching.